help students stand out in their own unique ways. Okay, for those who are new to 7EDU, let me just have a quick introduction of 7EDU Impact Academy. We are located in the heart of Silicon Valley. 7EDU is a leading educational tech company committed to helping students reach their potentials. We believe in the philosophy of starting smarter, not harder. With a combination of innovative technology and the pedagogy, we customize strategies for each student so they can foster the intellectual curiosity and the academic aptitude. Our students have gained admissions to top colleges, including Harvard, Columbia, MIT, Duke, Stanford, Brown, and many more. And the 7EDU has been granted the official ACT test center and the host site for the 2023 NACLO Open Round competition. Today, we will have three speakers. Aside from myself, we have Miss Lee and Miss Amy. So we will together share with parents some spring 2023 competitions. Myself is a co-founder of 7EDU, and before I joined 7EDU, I actually worked as college professor, a data scientist at Coursera. My strongest passion is in education, especially I really want to help students to realize their full potential and increase not only their test scores, but also their problem-solving skills. Ms. Ling is a co-founder of a women-run hedge fund, AdHub Capital. She's managing director of Palo Alto Education Group, advisor of financial intelligence for teens. She has taken two teams, one US team and one China team, to the regional final in Wharton High School investment competition. And Ms. Amy, as the lead English teacher and the senior college counselor at 7EDU, Amy has teaching experience with various research institutions, where her graduate work in humanities helps students hone their skills in composition and analysis. And here is the agenda for today's information seminar. I will start introducing NACLO, North America Computational Linguistic Open Competition. And then Ms. Ling will tell parents a wonderful opportunity for high school students to join the global teen investment and the business competition. And Amy will tell parents some of the students, some of the writing competitions. And then finally, we'll open the floor for Q&A. You can type your answers in the Q&A box, or you can type directly in the chat box. Okay, and then we will reserve remaining 10 to 15 minutes to answer any questions you may have. Okay, so start with NACLO. Again, NACLO stands for North America Computational Linguistic Open Competition. We already have 30 students signing up to take the competition at our headquarters, located at 10050 Bob Road, Suite 2, Cupertino. The competition at our site will start at 9 a.m. Pacific time on Thursday, which is next Thursday, January 26, 2023. Okay, so let's start with an overview of what this competition is about. This competition actually is open for middle school and high school students. Although we have most contestants are high school students. And in this competition, students need to solve problems on linguistics and the computational linguistics. And there are two rounds before students can advance to the International Linguistic Olympiad. The first round, which will again happen on January 26th, and it is open to all interested students, middle school and high school students. And those winners of the open round will advance to the invitational round, which will happen on March 16th. For students who will take open round at 7EDU office, well, if you advance to invitational round, you will also take the invitational round at our office, and we will know who will which students have advanced to the next level. And then 8 winners from the invitational round will participate in the National Linguistic Olympiad. And the International Linguistic Olympiad is usually hosted in different countries across the world. So you can see that just for your reference, if you want to know where the IOL will be hosted in the next 3 years, and here's the tentative. Actually, for 2023 has been decided, but for 2024, 2025, the tentative venues will be Brazil and Taiwan. Okay, I want to tell students and parents some of the test structure, especially if this is the first time you will be taking NACLO. This test is pretty long. For the open round, it's 3 hours. Depending on the student time zone. If you are in a Pacific time zone, we start from 9 a.m. The last 3 hours and then till noon, 12 p.m. If you are located in mountain time zone, and then your test time will be from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central Time, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. and the Eastern Time is also from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And also the test always occurs on a weekday, which means if you're attending a traditional school, you have to ask for absence. Usually, I think your school will grant you excused absence as long as you tell them earlier. You can tell them that you need to ask for absence for 3 hours from the school during that morning to attend NACLO. Now, if you advance to invitational round, the test becomes even, the competition becomes even longer. It will become 4 hours, 1 hour longer than the open round. Now, in terms of format, it's very similar to a typical written test or exam you have been doing at a school. So on the test day, you will be given handouts with all the competition problems. You will write your solution. You will need to write your solution at a dedicated part. There's actually a few pages for an answer sheet. You don't write your answers on along with the questions. You write answers at the end of at the last few pages of the handout. Okay, so here I'm giving you, I think if I click this, it will take you outside the slide page, but I can reshare the screen. Okay, just for you to take a look. This is the handout for 2022 open round. Well, the few rules that your task coordinator will have to announce all the rules at the beginning of the competition. But then once you get handout, you will see those problems first. But please don't write answers on the problems or alongside the problems. You need to actually go to the very end of the handout where you can see the answer sheet. Okay, and this is where you actually write your answers, and then but when you submit answers, you're going to submit the whole thing. You cannot take the booklet with you. You have to leave your answer sheet as well as the booklet to the test center when you leave. Okay, so let me go back to the slide. Okay, so here's some general rules that students need to be aware. Some of the things that you need to prepare before the test, before you go take the test. First of all, you need to bring your own black ink pens and the pencils. You can only submit answers in writing using the black ink pen. You only use pencils for scratch work. Okay, your solution, like I showed you, your solution has to be written in the space provided in the answer sheet part. While you're allowed to use actual blank paper if you think you need more space to write the answers, but that's kind of rare. You cannot bring your own blank sheet paper though. If you do need a blank sheet paper, and your task facilitator will provide, just raise your hand and then tell your task facilitator that you need actual blank paper. Also, because your answers will be, you will need to write the answers. You're basically, you have to make sure that your handwriting is legible. You really don't want the readers to guess your answers. You cannot bring any electronic devices except very basic wrist watches. And usually the classroom will provide a watch, or your task facilitator will tell you, okay, now it's time to start. And also usually they tell you there are like 10 minutes, there are only 10 minutes left or 5 minutes left. Of course, having the watch can help you to pace the pace well, right? If you know that you're behind, you are taking too long in any problem. You cannot use any notes. Oh, by the way, you can, if you bring any electronic device, for example, your cell phone, you have to leave your cell phone in your bag. You cannot take it out during the 3-hour open round. You cannot bring any notes. It's a closed book test, a competition. Well, this is a pretty long test, and therefore it's reasonable that students may want to take bathroom breaks. However, when you take bathroom breaks, you basically are using the 3 hours. You will not be given any extension, even you take a very long time in the bathroom break. You cannot bring anything to the bathroom break. Also, your test facilitator will not allow two contestants or multiple contestants to take bathroom break at the same time. So one person goes each time. And the last part is probably important because, again, this is such a long test. You may bring a snack into the contest site, bring water and a snack. You can drink and eat during the contest to give yourself more energy so that you can stay focused for such a long test. However, just out of consideration of other contestants, you should avoid noisy food, meaning that you don't want to chew too loud, or when you if your snack has a wrap, and then make sure that it's not very noisy when you open the wrap. Okay, and well, during the test, if you have any question, you can raise your hand, and one of the facilitators will talk to you, of course, very quietly. However, if you do need a clarification for a specific problem, so for example, if you don't understand certain part of the question, or you don't know, usually, right, if you don't understand what the question is asking, your facilitator cannot answer you directly, because the facilitator will have to contact a judge somewhere and via email. And actually, there's a platform the facilitator has to go and to ask a question, which means that you will not get an immediate answer, and sometimes actually 5 to 10 minutes delay. Therefore, you don't want to sit and wait for your answer. Just move on to the next question. And then sometimes, if the judge feel the answer is already contained in the booklet, or give you the answer may give you some unwanted hint, they will refuse to answer the question by telling you that they are unable to answer the question. So in that case, that means you don't need further clarification to the problem. You just solve the problem based on the information that is given in the booklet, or just try your best to answer the problem. Okay, now in terms of scoring, there are a total of 100 points. Each problem is worth a specified number of points, usually 10 to 15 points. Actually, each big problem has a couple of sub-problems. And the harder problems, of course, generate worth more points. Here, I want to kind of remind students, well, if you have experience taking a test, you know that you are free to solve the problem in any order. You don't have to go through A, B, C, D. Well, if you look at the practice book, you can see the questions are numbered A, B, C, right? But you are not obligated to follow that particular order. I know some students, they think they're pretty good at certain type of questions, so they can solve those questions first. And also don't spend too long in every single problem. In fact, we encourage students to write as much as you can, even if you cannot produce the complete solution. Just write as much as you can, because you may get some partial credits by explaining your thoughts, even though you may not have the final answer. Your judges will, the judges will score each solution based on its correctness, quality, clarity, and they determine the overall score as the sum of the solution scores. The scores are usually released 3 to 6 weeks after completion, after the competition. But I think based on the timeline in the last 2 years, usually takes maybe around 6 weeks. So the longer timeline for you to have the score, to know that whether you your score and whether you advance to the next round. Okay, just wait patiently after the competition. We will, of course, let you know if the scores are released, but you should receive an email from the organizer from NACLO that your scores are available. So you can log into your account and find your score. You can also see who, just by your ID, you can see whether you have been selected to join the next round. Now, into the cut score, and the students will really want to know, right? Okay, so how many problems do I need to solve in order to move to the next round? I can tell you around 100 participants in the open round, advanced to the invitational round. According to the statistics collected by NACLO, and they think recently there are about 1,700 participants each year. So out of the 1,700, basically less than 10%, basically maybe 8% of the participants will move to the advanced to the invitational round. And the cut points are usually 50 to 70, depending on the difficult level of the open round. And I have seen students advance to the next round, like around 50, 52, but I think last year the cutoff point was higher. It's above 60. Okay, so basically that tells you that if you can achieve 60% of the accuracy, or you get 60% of the scores in the open round, and you have a high chance of advance to the invitational round. Okay, now the problems in NACLO. There are between 6 to 9 problems during the open round. My guess is that you're gonna see 8 to 9 problems this year. I think maybe students, more and more students have become interested in this competition, and therefore the competition has become more and more intense over the years, and therefore they can have to increase the difficult level in order to select the top students. Yeah, so last year was 9 problems, and then this year probably you'll also see 9 problems in the open round. And of course, in the invitational round, the problems become harder. The number of questions can range from 8 to 12. Here are the types of questions. According to the website, this is by no means a comprehensive list of questions, but I can tell you, the most important questions are translation problems, computational problems, number problems, and the writing systems. But you can also see calendar problems, formal problems, phonological problems, and any other miscellaneous types of questions. Okay, so translation problems, as the name suggested, and your job is to translate the sentence or phrases into English or basically some foreign language. Usually they pick a language that most of students have not learned about. Right? So in this example, by the way, the example I'm showing you from the 2022 open round. You can find a practice test on NACLO's website. Please do practice. Okay, don't just even if you think that you can do well, and please practice. At least you want to get some get exposure of the type of questions that you will see. Okay, and then you can find 2022, 2021. I think up to at least 10 years of problems in the past. So of course you want to start from the recent years. Yeah, so this is question B from 2022 open round 1, and as you can see, your job is to translate the Turkish language based on some examples. The paper, the question has showed you, and then you basically learn, like just like you learn, you recognize the patterns, and then use the patterns. You're gonna do the translation from Turkish to English, or from English back to Turkish. And the number of problems is kind of a translation problem, but now it's not translating. It's not translating a particular language. Now it's translating numbers. So here's an example that they use different symbols to represent numbers. And your job, again, is recognize the pattern and then translate, recognize the numbers, and then translate symbols into numbers. And the writing system. Okay, so here, because you can, if you want to see the entire question, you can go to the booklet, 2022 open round 1, and then you can look at question A. So in a writing system, a student task is to figure out how a particular writing system works, and based on the description, and then use the pattern that you recognize to write out a given test. And the computational problem basically is you you yourself you come up with kind of a algorithm that can be used by computer to automate the process. Right? So you need to develop a procedure and to perform a particular linguistic task in a certain way that can be carried out by a computer. Again, if you want to look at an example, you can go to problem C in the 2022 practice test, 2022 open round 1 practice test. Okay, so what knowledge and skills are needed for NACLO? Mostly logical thinking skills. In fact, you don't need any prior knowledge. You do not need any prior knowledge of linguistics or programming. You are not asked to write the program, right? And just basically use your own logical thinking. However, depending on the question, you may need some basic knowledge, which I think that all high school, even middle school students should have some basic arithmetic and standard calendar if it's a calendar problem. Like I said, you do want to practice. Don't just go to the test without any preparation. NACLO website has provided students with plenty of resources. I really want to encourage students to go to the website. You can easily find that, the handbook for students. It provides probably all the information that you need before the test and on the test day. And then you can also find past practice problems on this website. If you want to look at how others, well, the solutions do not show the steps. If you want to look at some examples of how you actually approach a problem, NACLO has a YouTube channel. I think the YouTube channel was created 2 years ago, and therefore they only show a couple of questions there. Now, for those who do very well in the open round, if you advance to the next level, you may want to read some books or read some articles about intro to linguistics, which can, I think it does help students to solve the translation problems better. Okay, all right. So that's for NACLO. Next, I will invite Lynn to tell parents and the students a very interesting global team investment and the competition.
Hi, everyone. I'd like to share with all of you global teen investment and business competition for 2023. Next slide. So first, I want to give a little bit background to GTIC. GTIC was started in 2018. At that time, I think first year we had about 50 students from mostly US and China. Now this is the sixth year we're doing the competition. Last year we had close to 500 students participated from over 30 countries. Last year our judge panel was outstanding. We were able to invite editor-in-chief from Yahoo Finance, and also editor-in-chief from Investopedia. Those esteemed judges actually are very hard to invite, and they were able to give our finalists really good feedbacks on their final presentation. So that's a little bit about the history. The benefits, actually, I don't need to tell you much. I'm sure most of you already know. When we think about investing, learn about finance investing is not only good for students in the longer term, but also, I think, in terms of broadening the students' horizon, and also help them to develop their teamwork if they're working in teams, right? In terms of adding that to your future applications, whether that's to college or to other things. Next slide, please. So here are the important dates. Registration has already started, and we're going to close the registration in early March. Next Wednesday, we're going to host a webinar with past winners. So the 3 past winners of GTIC that we've invited, they are now college students, one from Wharton, one from Duke, and one from University of Virginia. They are all excellent students. They actually, all of them won top positions in past competitions. So they're going to share with our students and parents in terms of their learning experience and how the competition itself has benefited them. And then in February, our paper trading is going to start. So that's part of the investment competition track. And that's going to last 5 weeks. Financial literacy competition, financial literacy test actually is going to be hosted online. It's a quick 30-minute online test. Some may say it's open book because we cannot really monitor whether students are checking answers online. However, we have a way to limit their time. So it's a 30-minute test only. Once they start, they have to finish it within 30 minutes. So if they didn't study or prepare for the test, and then they Google, of course they can do that, but they're going to run out of time to finish the test. So we highly encourage our students to study ahead of time for that financial literacy test. And then a week later is when the final portfolio paper or business pitch is due. We're going to announce the regional and global finalists on April 15. And our global finalists are going to be invited to the global finale. That's going to be hosted online on April 22nd. Next slide, please. So in terms of the different tracks, we have investment competition track and we have the business competition track. For both competitions, students can participate as an individual participant or join the competition with their friend as a team of 2. So for investment competition, it is a 3-part competition that I just mentioned. It's financial literacy test, which is going to take about 30% of the total. On the paper trading part, the 20%, actually, we're going to give all 20% to the students who participated in the paper trading, because 5 weeks is not enough to judge whether you've, your strategy works or not. It's too short of a period, right? So the reason why we want to give 20% to anyone who participated in that is we want you to test out your strategy. Without really doing the paper trading, it's hard to understand whether your strategy is working or not. So we highly encourage all of our students to do that. And on the third part, portfolio strategy pitch deck, and that's going to weigh the most of the 3, because that's where you're going to demonstrate your understanding of, how you're going to invest, how you're going to diversify in a portfolio, your reasoning behind it. So that's where we're going to really pick our finalists. On the business competition track, this is a new part that we're adding this year. For the business competition, your challenge is to consider an innovative solution that will promote lifelong learning opportunities for the young people. So in terms of the types of entry that we accept, you can see actually we have a long list of the different types. So you can be as creative as you can on that. Next slide, please. In terms of knowledge skill required to participate, we say no prior knowledge is needed. However, we do encourage students to learn on their own. We're saying no prior knowledge to participate, but during the process, we want all of our students to either learn on their own or to take classes so that they are well equipped to participate, participate in different parts of the competition, right? We encourage, there are a few different resources we offer to the students. Of course, Investopedia is a great place to go. And we also will send links to other sites as part of the competition guide to all of our registered participants. And then other helpful class resources that you can find on 7EDU. They are Investment Hour Weekly is where our students can learn finance and business through current events. And that's a weekly class. I think it's ongoing enrollment. In terms of Intro to Investing and Intro to Business workshop, those two actually are tailored more specifically for entry students who need to build the foundation. So the Intro to Investing is a 6-week class. It's an excellent foundation for those who are new to investing. In terms of the business workshop, that's good for students who want to participate in the business track, competition track. And in that workshop, our instructors will help students understand the requirement and how to tailor, your interest, how to develop your product as well. And our registration link is right there.
So we will paste, copy and paste the links, like all the links that you don't have to type in. So in the chat box. Okay, so writing competitions, Amy.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Yan. I'll briefly be going over some writing competitions. I think when it comes to writing competitions, there's a high level of variety in terms of genre and subjects that students can participate in. Obviously, I won't have the time to cover all the possible writing competitions that students can participate in, but we selected a few, I would say, meaningful, high quality ones that I encourage all students to consider. So the first one is the John Locke Global Essay Competition. This is, I would say, a rather unique competition because it's not creative writing, right? Oftentimes, I think when students think on, I'm interested in writing, I want to participate in a writing competition, many of the options are creative writing, which we will be going over a few as well. John Locke is more focused on analytical writing, right? So the competition itself says it highlights independent thought, depth of knowledge, clear reasoning, critical analysis, and persuasive style. So while there is definitely a level of creativity in which you can analyze the prompts, if you go and read the winning prizes from previous years, they're very much structured more like almost like a research paper, but definitely something that is very intellectually focused. It's also an international competition. Previous winners have been from like the United Kingdom, etc. So it's a very, I would say, prestigious, wide-reaching competition. Next slide, please. So this is the different subject categories that you can enter for John Locke. You'll see it contains philosophy, politics, economics, history, psychology, theology, the study of religion, and law. And each year, under each category, they will pose different prompts. Sometimes it will be in the form of a question, or it will be in the form of a statement. What you need to prepare for it is, one, you want to follow the requirements, right? Next slide, please. Thank you. So it's a very, I would say, open requirement. You're able to write up to 2,000 words. And you essentially have to respond to the prompt in a relevant manner, right? So I believe this is one of the previous questions, which is intuition to philosophy as observation is to science? So you can tell that it's not, maybe high level is not the right phrase to use, but it's very, I would say, like philosophical, intellectual questions that should provoke deep thought for that one. I believe on the next slide, we have some sample questions from previous years. So this is a sample essay prompt from all the different categories. I actually showed one of my STEM student this essay because he tells me I don't like creative writing, right? I don't like writing short stories. That's not my thing. But he really likes science and he also really enjoys philosophy. So I showed him this competition. He's like, oh, actually, this is kind of interesting. So you can tell that the prompts are a bit open-ended, but it's up to the student to respond to it in a way that is original, persuasive, and also there should be a research element to it as well. So I think it's a very interesting competition, right? And even, regardless of what you're interested in, I think it's very, it kind of will allow students to be very insightful in their thought and is a great practice of more analytical writing as well. Next slide, please. You'll also tell that some of the prompts are relevant to modern day. So I think it's also a way to, encourage students to be interested in more relevant social issues as well. So this is the timeline for the competition. They have not announced this year's essay questions yet. I believe on the website, they said they would announce it in January. So hopefully the end of January. So the entry open window will start in February, which is actually quite soon. And the application deadline is in June. Oh, apologies, I put 2021, but it's actually 2023 now. And then the shortlisted candidates will be announced in July as well, and the winners in September. So there's a good time for the students to prepare. Next slide, please. The next competition we're going to cover are the New York Times competitions. So I think the New York Times is a publication that most people are aware of. They offer competitions on, I would say, a monthly basis. Their competitions also tend to be shorter because if you go look at the word limit, sometimes they have what they call a one-pager competition or even a 100-word competition. And it's not as easy to write in that concise a manner. But I think for certain students who maybe prefer that type of short form writing, the New York Times is a good fit for them. And it's also one where you can participate on a monthly basis if you're interested. Now, two competitions we wanted to highlight are the New York Times STEM Writing Contest, which is starting now all the way until February. And the summary for that competition is it just allows students to select an issue in science, technology, math, or health, or within the STEM field, and write a 500-word explanation. So I think it's a great way that if you have a student, right, especially I would say a younger student who's interested in STEM and wants to explore that interest in STEM more, this would be a wonderful opportunity to give them to like research a STEM area more, not like laboratory research, but more like do some reading on it, right? Find out more, be more knowledgeable in the subject area, then write a 500-word essay on it and then submit to the competition, right? The other one is the NYT editorial contest. So that opens in March. An editorial is essentially kind of like an opinion piece. There are a few differences, but if you do read the New York Times, if their editorial section is mostly, different writers posing their different perspectives on various issues. So again, I think the competition is more open, right? They don't specify an issue. It again gives students the opportunities to write on issues that they deem important. So again, they tend to be shorter competitions, right? They have the one-pager, and I think is an excellent way for students that have interest in different issues and different subject areas to participate within writing competitions. So one of the other competitions that we are covering is the Scholastic Writing Competition. There's also an art component to this competition, but we won't be covering that today. This is probably one of the more popular writing competitions, and their deadlines tend to be in fall, but it's never too early, I would say, to prepare, especially since you are able to submit to more than one category. And within the writing category, as you can see, they offer critical essay, dramatic script, flash fiction, journalism, poetry, short story, etc. So among my students, I think short story has been the most popular, although surprisingly poetry. I think it's because they think poetry, you don't have to always use correct grammar and it can be shorter. There's a different level of creativity there. They also post all their winners from previous years. And I think sometimes if you're a high school student, it's worth it to just scroll through the winners and see like writing from your peers as well. So I believe I posted the requirements for a short story, and that is, you'll see, very open. It's just a fictional narrative that is written in prose. And the word limit is 500 to 3,000 words. So it's just a short story. Essentially, it's just a fictional story that's not sci-fi, fantasy, or humor. Because if it was, you would submit to those categories. So oftentimes when I have students who are interested in creative writing, they will want to submit to this category. Now, next slide, please. One is, why should students participate in the Scholastic Writing Competition, or just writing competitions in general? One is, I guess, pretty obvious, right? You improve your writing. If you do anything more consistently, you're going to improve, right? You can exercise your creativity. You can exercise different levels of thought, like to be more, I suppose, introspective or reflective or analytical. And I do think for some students, it can definitely nurture a love for writing, right? One other benefit is that, most students, even those who really love writing, it's very difficult sometimes for them to set up a self-imposed schedule for when they should write regularly. I think I had a student who once told me he wanted to set up a regular writing time each week. And so we got together, we set up the goal, and then we met again. And then I asked him, okay, how's your progress? And he said, I didn't do any of it. I asked him why. And he told me that it's very difficult when you don't have some sort of external deadline or sometimes some sort of external schedule to kind of motivate you. So I think writing competitions within itself kind of solves that issue, because the competition deadlines then act as external deadlines that you have to finish a piece by, right? So I would always say for my students who are interested in writing, one way to help you schedule your writing and to give yourself a finish line for whatever piece you're working on is just to tie it to a competition deadline. Otherwise, sometimes the work just gets lost in limbo. Like you're always writing, but if you don't have a set deadline, sometimes you just need that extra push. Another thing is that it just gives students the opportunity to explore different various categories. Sometimes that opportunity is not offered in school. For instance, maybe the STEM writing, or even I would say in the John Locke, or even like creative writing at that level, is more limited in schoolwork. So this gives students a great opportunity to explore that, as well with some potential tangible results. Next slide, please. So how do you prepare? This is the same across the board for all writing competitions. One, you have to decide which competition and category you want to compete in, right? Sometimes it's based on what you have the most experience on, Other times it could be based in what you feel you're most interested in. And then you have to enter the conceptual, almost storyboarding phase, right? If you're writing a short story, you at least want some sort of main idea or structure for the story in place. The third part is you need to set up a writing schedule, right? You need to, I think, pace yourself so that way you're not doing everything last minute. And you need to have a drafting and revision schedule as well. I would say that a lot of students will think that drafting is the most difficult part of the process, but it's not supposed to be. Revision, editing is supposed to be the most difficult and time-consuming part. And in that sense, it's always good to receive individual feedback on your writing. I remember when I was helping students prepare for Scholastic, we would meet and I would just give them feedback on their writing and they would incorporate it for that. And I think that was very helpful, right? Because if you want to improve a piece, and that's why we have editors in real life. Like every book that's published has some sort of editor that will kind of give it a glance through as well. So for competitions, I would say you also want that external editor to help improve the piece as well. I believe last but not least, we have two other competitions that I will just very briefly introduce to you. So these are, more interesting, not more interesting, but these are competitions with later start dates. They are the songwriting competition because yes, writing song lyrics is also a form of writing. And the competition start is not until the summer in June. The other one is the opinion writing competition. So that's a bit similar to the editorial competition, but not exactly. And that will start in March. So as you can see, there's huge variety of writing competitions. If a student is interested at all, I just encourage them to participate, right? It's going to be a fruitful experience, whether or not you win, whether or not you place. Okay, so I think that wraps up all our competitions. We can open it up to Q&A.
Yeah, so any questions from our audience, parents and students? Do you have any question about the competitions? And I know that parents asked whether at some EDU, whether we will provide a clock. Yes, we definitely will have a timer so that students know that how long they have been spending working on the problems. I know that some students, based on past experience, some students told us that they were so engaged in the problems, they forgot about time. Okay, but that's not a good thing because you really don't want to spend too long in a single problem. Okay, so here's a question from a parent regarding a NACLO. What is competitor level of NACLO? How did local students do in the past? Okay, so we actually don't know the statistic by location. This is called a North American competition, which actually includes two countries, US and Canada. And US students do much better than students from Canada. But like I said, the open round, I think around maybe 7 to 8% of students will advance to the next level. Yeah, so I think they select around 100 students from open round and move to round 2. And then from round 2, 8 students will be selected to represent the country to go to the international competition. Okay.
I have one, I can answer this one. It says, any advice on helping kids to grow interest in the writing competitions? When shall they start to think about them and practice for them? I think sometimes interest is just a matter of matching. Like I mentioned, there's a huge variety of writing competitions. And I think there's bound to be one that matches what your child/student is interested in. When can you start thinking about them? You can start thinking about them now, right? There's never a time where you can start too early for that.
Okay, so here's a question. When will NACLO take place in 7EDU? Okay, so let me go back to the first slide where we have the location. Okay, but unfortunately, it's already full for this year. So for students who missed signing up for this year, try whether you can find another location in your area that also hosts, allow the kids to join. So this is our location. It's in Cupertino. It's 10050 Buffalo in Suite 2. We will have a sign on the competition day so that it's easy to find our location once you arrive at the parking lot. Yeah, but do sign up early. In fact, the registration usually opens in September the previous year. So for example, for 2023 competition, and the registration actually opened in September 2022. And the spots are very limited. Yeah, so please do, if you are interested in trying next year, sign up as soon as possible. We plan to host again next year.
So Dr. Yan, I don't know if everyone can see my response to the question, whether there's any training classes to help students prepare for GTIC.
Yeah, maybe you can just say it. Yeah.
Sure.
Mhm.
So if you can go to the slide on the
Yeah.
resources. So
Sure.
there are 3 classes that can be helpful, specifically to help students to prepare for the competition. There are 2. One is Intro to Investing, and then the other is Intro to Business Workshop. So Intro to Investing, I would say that's the foundation of really understanding the financial market. Even for students, so for those students who may be interested in the future to participate in the Wharton High School Student Investment Competition, I would say, that's a great foundation as well. So so it's helpful not only to participate in GTIC, but also to other investment competition if they have no investing experience in the past. Even for some students who have had some experience, it's good to also make sure that there is no knowledge gaps because if they just learn some of the concepts on their own on the website or doing a little bit here and there on their own. So this class will make sure that they know all the foundations.
We will check the website. When parents said that this website does not work, the GTIC 2023. Yeah, we will check it.
Actually, it's CAP GTIC.
Oh, it's a CAP.
Yeah.
So capital GTIC.
GTIC, that's right.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So it's right here. It's capital.
Yeah, it's right. It's case sensitive.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Any other question? Oh, so here's the idea about the NACLO. What's the time gap between the open round result and invitational round? Okay, so I think they usually give you, because the invitational round is on March 16th, the open round is January 26th. So it takes a little bit more than a month for you to get a result. So maybe 4 to 5 weeks until the invitational round, which means that if you think you have a high chance of being advanced to the invitational round, you probably want to start working on the invitational round problems now. Okay, just over prepare yourself basically, because once you get results, pretty fast. Yeah, about a month of time. Okay, any other question? Yeah, if you want to know more about our spring competitions, more information about competitions, or actually talk to someone in person, here is the QR code that you can scan. You can basically talk to our student advisor. Well, knowing multiple languages help. I think certainly it happens to be the language that you already know, but if it's not the language that you already know, it doesn't really help. Although the competition and the organizer specifies that no prior knowledge of linguistic or computation programming is needed, but I do know that if you have some basic linguistic knowledge, it does help you a little bit. Yeah, especially for the invitational round. Yeah, so if you advance the invitational round, then you probably want to start reading the intro to linguistic. Find the intro book, start reading it. I think that will help students answering the problems in more challenging problems in the invitational round.
Okay, someone asked for the New York STEM writing contest, do you help the students to pick the topic? I think it's more accurate to say we help them refine the topic, because students tend to come with a general idea, and then teachers can help them refine that idea down to the best.
Yeah, just like in writing any essay, students usually will give us some general ideas what they are interested in, and then our essay specialist will help them to refine the topic. So Catherine has a question. I'm doing NACLO in a high school that isn't mine, so I have no idea where to go in school. Should I ask around? Oh yes, you do, because most of high schools only allow their own students to participate in NACLO. So you do want to ask to make sure that they will give you a seat at that high school to take the competition. Yeah, and because the competition starts at 9 a.m. and we usually ask the students to arrive at least 30 minutes prior so that we can start on time. We don't want to waste any single minute, right? So make sure that you know where to go, so you don't have to spend time looking for the place on Thursday morning. Okay, I see our, there's some questions. Our Jimbo is answering the question also in the chat box. Okay. Okay, then if you want to hear more seminars like this, because we regularly share information with our students and parents. So you can sign up for our newsletter, and you always receive the most updated information of upcoming seminars, information seminars. Okay, so Amy, there's a question. What's the deadline for scholastic writing registration?
That is a good question. I apologize, I don't remember off the top of my head, but it is sometime in fall. And then the deadline for the actual competition itself is depending on where you're located, either December or January. I think if you're in California, it tends to be December. Yeah,
December, mid-December to early January. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think the registration is, I apologize, I will have to search that up. Or if you want, I think you can ask info as well.
Yeah, because you have to register for account, and then it will provide your high school location. And based on your high school location, they will tell you. It's not a one deadline for the entire nation. It depends on your location.
Yes, I think for last year in California, it was sometime in November. Can you give an introduction about the teacher who teaches New York STEM Writing Bootcamp? Our teacher, I believe, is Kyle. He is a very passionate teacher in terms of, teaching AP language. Regarding any student who won the contest, I apologize, I don't know that in detail right now, but I do know that for all the students that he's led so far, they've all been very, I think, motivated due to his teaching for that. He teaches advanced placement English mostly.
Yeah, we do have a couple of students who won the competition last year. Yeah,
yes.
It's so it's not just the teacher, and it's the topic student is selected, and also this more like student doing the literature review, not scientific, not like an academic scientific literature review, but reading like different articles on this particular topic and the summarizes information. Oh, NACLO is not open to international students. It's only open to American and the Canadian students. Yeah, so basically it's a North American competition. But I'm pretty sure that international students can participate their own local version of the computational linguistic, because eventually every country will select their top winners from their invitational round and then compete at international level. Okay, so I think we are running out of time. So again, if you have questions, want to know more about our competitions, and here's the QR code. And then if you want to get most updated information about upcoming informational session, seminar, and please sign up for our newsletter. Okay, thank you for all the parents and students for spending the time coming to our seminar. We look forward to seeing you in our next seminar.